So this is going to be making of my Lionchief New York Central 20th Century Limited. So I'm going to kind of go through on how I did this, because I took the MTH frame and I put the Lionchief electronics inside. So I'm going to kind of go through all of the things I did. Not only is this a MTH Proto 1 conversion, so it started out as MTH Proto 1 and I'm converting it to Lionchief. And in the previous video I said Lionchief 2.0. No, it's not 2.0. It's just Lionchief Plus. So this is Lionchief Plus board, and I'll go through that. I'll start off with the shells, and then I'll go to electronics. Okay, so this was probably the easiest thing. This is the tender shell, and pretty much no mods to this. I do like to add sound deadening to the metal. It probably doesn't need it, but I'm used to putting a little sound deadener in there to just increase the bass a little bit. But absolutely no mods to this pretty much at all. I'm using this pretty much as stock. The shell, the Locomotive shell, I didn't have to modify this much, but what I did was the smoke box. I took a Dremel and I cut out the hole for the firebox. So that was from a Dremel. And then I stole the original red lens and hot glued that where it's at. I didn't even bother painting it gray. I just left it metal. Eventually that's going to tarnish and be kind of a gray color, so that'll be fine. But that's where the firebox went. The people, excuse me, the people are also from the new set, and so that had two holes that mounted the people inside their conductor and the fireman. So there's two holes there, and so I was able to relocate those two holes to the underside right here, and then pretty much just bolted them right in. The widths were identical, so they just popped right in there. So those two guys in there, super easy. So that was all of the mods for the shell. Nothing else was done here. So I'll put that to the side. The tender, this is, so I completely removed the MTH undercarriage and trucks and all the electronics, and I'm using this is the Lionel underframe. This is everything's Lionel. So with this underframe, I have the Lionel front and rear trucks. This truck this right here is a coil that fires this rear coupler, and so this goes through this little channel, goes through this cable right here, and it goes to the Lionchief 4-pin connector right here. So two of the pins are, the inner two pins are for the coupler, and the outer two pins go to the speaker right here. And I left the original speaker. This is a decent speaker. It's an 8 ohm, so it's nice and loud. It's got a plastic or aluminum woofer there. It's not a bad speaker at all. So I just went ahead and left it. Like everything, I like to add a little sound deadener to it. It adds a little weight, and it muffles some of the sound. Gets a tiny bit more bass. So that's what I did. I did have to modify this a little bit. If you look right here, I cut it, and then for rust protection, I literally just drew a Sharpie on there just to give it something. So when you plug this in here, in order to get it to fit, now I had some options here as to, I got to make sure I put I don't look like an idiot here. Yeah, it goes this way. So what I did because I was modifying this, I can move this in and out, kind of pick and choose wherever I want it. So I put the tender, the loco, and a car right on the sharpest turn I can ever get, which is this 031. And so I made sure all of the alignment was going to be okay there. So I got all of that, and then I had to re-drill the holes for that. And there you go. Everything fit fairly well. And so there's the tender. Now the train is a completely other deal. Quite a bit was different here. So original MTH frame, and here's the Lionel frame. So what I ended up doing here was these two bolts for the, let's start with the Lionchief board. The Lionchief board is on, it's kind of a T-shaped mount right here. And so that literally just bolted off. They were the exact same distance. So I put it right where it was at. The motor was literally, so here's the MTH motor. This literally just fit right in here. It's the exact same size. I couldn't believe it. There were two tabs right here. I had to remove those in order to get those to fit. And then I put automotive tape in between here to keep this from jiggling around. But that held that. And then the LED, this, for whatever reason, there was two, this mounted board here was the same as the connector pin board. So that got replaced with the LED firebox LED, and I did have to put a new LED in here that was longer and little shrunken up in there, but that fit. And then moving forward, so here's the photo eye, this little black box right here that reads. See these little slots in the motor? It goes blip 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 blip, and that's how it knows what speed it's going. So all of that was all original. That was all mounted to the motor. So when I put that on there, that was all done. So here's the main board, and it's kind of covered in all these wires. But so, and I'll have to tell you a little bit more about the smoke unit. The smoke unit has 4 wires. 2 wires are these farther 2 are for the heater, and the inner 2 are for this fan. So the fan, it kicks on, it kicks off, it kicks on, it kicks off, and when it does a puff, it's on, and it goes puff, puff, puff when it's going slow. And so that motor is literally going on, off, on, off, on, off. And so for some reason, I fried the outputs going to that motor, and so I had to do something else. And so I ended up taking DC off of the main board, added this little extra board right here, and so this gives me a twist throttle. So it comes in at 18 volts and leaves at, and I have it at 9.5 volts. So that goes to the heater. So now, it's kind of sucks that I had to do that, but now with this, I can actually dial in how much smoke I have, which is kind of cool. So that worked out okay. And then this is just a little drawing to show high and low as far as the pot right here. So if I can go up and down. The LED mount was already on the smoke box, so I didn't have to do anything there. I did upgrade the LED to a warmer, larger LED. You can actually see the mount for the bulb from MTH. And this was the hardest part right here. This is the alignment of the Lionel smoke unit. Comes up around here, and then there's actually the Lionel plate going through here, and the motor electrical was so close to this plate that I added an extra piece of tape right here to keep those separate. But LED there, LED there. Pretty much that's all of the electrical. The MTH, the drawbar or the extension bar, for whatever reason, that also just bolted right in. I did have to, I don't know if I can show you this. If I hold it right here, and if I hold it like, well, maybe it's not worth it. But if you look right here, I had to clip a little bit of metal right there because it was hitting when it hit a turn. And so I had to clip a little bit of metal, and then again, that was just cheap Sharpie, so to cover up that metal. And then I painted, there were some really ugly orange wires right here. I painted those flat black, so you didn't see those. The wheels, I painted those flat black, so you didn't see those. And there was something else. Oh, the height of the rear, that little end coupler, it goes straight out, goes down, and then it goes flat again. Well, I just bent that a little higher so it was at a higher width. But that's literally, that's pretty much all I had to do. The hardest part was this mounting the heater and then figuring out how to get this heater back to running again. I did wire this power supply, this step down, into the original switch. So it goes hot to the switch and then it comes back, and that's where, so I have the ability to turn my smoke on and off. Now what's weird about this is even though I turn the smoke on and off, or if I turn the heat on and off, I still have this fan clicking on and off. But what's interesting about the Bluetooth app is the app, I can go in and turn that off too. So I still have full control. It's more of a pain, but it still works. So the only thing I'm not using is, there's the original Proto 1 board, and then the original tender, and then this is the MTH smoke unit that went right there, and I had to get that aligned because it has to be high enough that I don't have a gap. And so when you look down the smoke box, it's got to go right here. So I had to go forward and back, left and right. I had to go up and down. I had to get that positioned so that it would fit right. But that's pretty much it. It is weird. I did have to, if you look at this square, this is a auxiliary gear that keeps the main shaft from getting bent. So this little cover here prevents this bar from being flat. So I just bent it at an angle. So now it's got a little, if you look at it squarely, this main board is at an angle to clear this hump right here. But that, and I went ahead and oiled all everything that moves. But yeah, I hit a lot of lucky breaks when trying to modify this. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. Look at the comments. Tell me what you think. Was this worth it? I know some people think, oh, this is not a scale, blah blah blah. You shouldn't have done this. But when you have a bunch of 31 turns, as I do, I actually like the smaller trains. Do you have a big layout? Do you have a small layout? Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching.